Well, a very good morning here from Malmö, Sweden, and good evening to those of you who are in another part of this world. So we'll be starting in about 3 minutes. So just popping in now to say hi to those of you who are here. Anastasia, Andrea, Jovita, Lucas, Marta, Melek, and Willy, goedemorgen. And good morning from Japan as well. I see some Japanese names. So thank you all for being here. So exciting. 2 minutes until we start. So for those of you that are already here on in your right upper corner, you'll find a red arrow. So if you want to ask questions or comment, you can press there and the chat or the question window will pop up. So still waiting also for some more people to join. And you will also get the link to this webinar within 24 hours, I think. So we'll start shortly. So the picture shows my morning walk, not from today, because it was too early for me to be walking, but from yesterday actually. So we had a pretty cold night, so there was this thin layer of ice on the water, as you can see maybe. So in the distance there, you can see the city where I'm in now, Malmö, Sweden, where TePe is located. Okay, so it is actually 7 a.m. here in Sweden now, so I think we will get started. So for those of you that didn't hear, we talk about the chat box. I'll tell you that on your upper right corner, there's a red arrow, and if you click that, you'll find the questions box or a chat box, and you can post questions and comments there. So welcome to this webinar, broadcasted live from the TePe headquarters in Malmö, Sweden. So the webinar is called Let's Talk About Incidental Cleaning, and I'll be doing the talking, but I'd love to hear from you. Ask questions or comment on what I say, and in the end we'll do a question and answer. And if there's time, I'll stop at occasion to answer some questions. But let's get started. This is a TePe Share webinar, and if you haven't heard about TePe Share yet, that's our umbrella for knowledge sharing. So anything we do with knowledge sharing and education, pretty much patient leaflets, our articles, our science update on news, educational social media posts, and also our digital platform, tepeshare.com. You should check it out. So I'm Lena. I'm a dental hygienist, graduated here in Malmö and also did my master's here. I work here at TePe as educator odontology, and I've done so for about 5.5 years. And the picture is showing me doing a lecture in Russia. So keeping up with science and lecturing, that's a big part of our job, me and my colleagues. And nowadays, of course, we do our lectures digitally. And we, that's the international dental team that you can see in the picture now. So pretty much everyone is there except for the German team. And what else? Well, I am the chairperson of the local branch of the Swedish Dental Hygienists Association. So that's here in southern Sweden. And since a year back, I also write for the Swedish Dental Hygienist journal. So that's my nighttime hobby. So after the kids are falling asleep, that's what I do. I like writing a lot. So the picture before, in the start picture, you saw Malmö from a distance, and this is Malmö a little bit closer, a part that is called the Western Harbor and our highest building, Turning Torso. So this is what we will be doing today. I'll show you a film from our production site. We'll talk about oral health and disease very briefly, and then a lot about how to choose interdental products and interdental research, of course. So the film that I'll be showing, I made with some colleagues. We made this movie with the intention of making all of you feel like you were right here with us. And it's our hopes that you maybe one day can be here with us again. And if you were, then you definitely would be taking this tour in our production. But for now, we'll have to do it virtually. Hi, welcome to TePe. How great that you want to visit us. This is our reception, and this is where we greet our guests. Upstairs, we have a big conference room where we arrange lectures and workshops. We have smaller meeting rooms, and on both floors, we have office space. We make all of our products here in Malmö, and I'm going to take you on a tour in our production. But first, I'm going to show you something. This is a scale model of Henning Eklund, the founder of TePe. He was a woodcarver, and TePe's first product was a triangular wooden toothpick. Today, we primarily produce interdental brushes, toothbrushes, and different special brushes. Join me for a tour in the production. This is our injection molding hall. Here, all the different parts that are later in a different hall put together into a finished product are produced. In this machine, we make the handle to our interdental brush angle. Plastic granulates comes from silos, and in the machine they are mixed with 2% colored plastic. This mixture will be heated up to about 200 degrees Celsius, which makes the plastic melt. The mixture is injected into the mold, which is cooled by water. Lowering the temperature will make the plastic stiffer, and we have a finished product that will end up in a tray under the machine. The tray will be brought to our warehouse for raw material, where it's kept until it's supposed to be used to make a finished product. This is our quality control station. Here, we perform a number of different tests on our interdental brushes. All of our products have really high quality, and we are very proud to be producing them here in Malmö, Sweden. In this hall, all the different parts are put together into interdental brushes. We have about 30 machines and about as many people working here around the clock. Every 24 hours, we make more than 80,000 interdental brushes here. When the brushes are ready, they are transported into a different hall where they are packaged. Here, the interdental brushes are packed in bags. In every step of the production, there are cameras that photograph the products. If a fault is discovered, that product will be separated and removed from the rest. The final check is always done by a person. The packed boxes are put on a conveyor belt, and they end up here with Anna, the robot. Anna puts the right box on the right pallet, and then the pallets are taken into the warehouse.
Hi, welcome to TePe's warehouse. Here we store our products before we ship them out into the world. Thanks for joining us here on this little tour at the production facility in Malmö, Sweden.
Take care of yourself and your teeth. And now we'll continue with the presentation. So gingivitis, very common, but difficult to know just how common. Studies are performed differently and the results vary a lot from them. So as you can see, gingivitis here is measured in different ways, sometimes bleeding and probing, sometimes gingival index, sometimes community periodontal index. So pretty much all we can say is that gingivitis is very, very common. So periodontitis then. Well, about 50% of the adult population globally are suffering from periodontitis. And severe periodontitis, well, we end up with 10 to 15%, and severe periodontitis being the sixth most common non-communicable disease, with caries number 1. So we work in a field where it's really important to be working for increased health. So speaking of health, what is really oral health? Well, if we ask the FDI, it is multifaceted and includes a lot of things that we take for granted. But once one of these things fails, it's really noticeable. So we all know, for example, how many people with COVID-19 have said that they have lost smell and taste, and that must, of course, affect your daily life a lot. They also say it's a fundamental component of health and physical and mental well-being. It is essential to quality of life, and this is, of course, very, very important. And also that it can change over life. So why is oral health important? Well, for a number of reasons, of course. But there is a clear link between periodontal disease and several general diseases. So to keep healthy, we also have to have a healthy mouth. There's also a significant association between periodontal disease and oral health related quality of life. And oral disease costs a lot of money, both for society and for the individual, of course. Let's go back to 1965, the year when TePe was founded, but also the year when this pretty famous study was published, experimental gingivitis in man. What Löö and his team did was that they asked students to stop cleaning their teeth, and they saw how long time it took for them to develop clinical signs of gingivitis, and as you can see, it took about 2 to 3 weeks. Once they started cleaning again, the inflammation subsided within a week. The researchers made it clear with this study that gingivitis and periodontitis were diseases initiated by microorganisms. This is another study from about 10 years later. 32 dental students with clean teeth and healthy gingiva participated in the study and were divided into 4 groups. They removed plaque twice a day, once every 48 hours, once every 72 hours, and once every 96 hours, respectively. They brushed and used floss and wood sticks. That was checked with a disclosing agent. So the ones that completely cleaned their teeth, all 5 sides, at least every 48 hours, did not develop gingivitis. And although all tooth surfaces were completely plaque-free after each oral hygiene procedure, a consistent pattern of plaque development was evident starting in the interproximal areas of the premolars and molars. And they say also that these surfaces are the same ones that remain dirty in the average patient. So it is obvious that special attention has to be paid to interdental cleansing when motivating patients. So you can see the need for talking about interdental cleaning and improving it, since already then, back in 1973, they prompted for special attention for the interdental surfaces. This is a conclusion from late Professor Per Axelsson, that the studies that we just talked about from the 60s and 70s, they let us know that if you clean all surfaces of your teeth at least every 48 hours, that means that you won't develop gingivitis. And this doesn't mean that we should tell our patients to brush only every other day, though, because one, well, we need that fluoride, and two, people are a bit too sloppy when they brush. So as you can see, it's mentioned here as daily cosmetic brushing. And if we look at studies, we can see that people, well, first of all, they brush too short, and also they pay most attention to the buccal surfaces and pretty much don't clean interdentally. So studies from 60s and 70s already then provided evidence that prevention of gingivitis should be based on plaque control. So even though toothbrushing is an established health behavior and performed by a majority of people at a regular basis, oral disease is very common. So the plaque control provided by toothbrushing only is not enough. Interdental cleaning, however, that is not an established health behavior. There's not that many studies to be found about this, and as you can see, they also measure, just like the gingivitis studies, in different ways. So either they talk about daily interproximal cleaning, daily flossing, regular use of interdental cleaning devices. About 10 to 30% we see here, the studies say are cleaning between their teeth. But you can also think about how many of your patients you think clean between their teeth sufficiently. So if we take any person walking down the street and look at how much plaque they have removed, it is about 42% they saw in this study. So interdental plaque control is indeed essential to every patient's self-care program, because that means that a lot of people are walking around with a lot of plaque, and especially then interdentally. They actually did the same review, but looked at electric toothbrushing instead, and they found that that removed 46%. So cleaning between teeth, cleaning all 5 sides of the tooth is really, really important. Periodontitis and also caries is more common interdentally. Interdental cleaning is associated with decreased oral disease prevalence. Well, the title pretty much says it all. But interdental cleaning users showed lower levels of periodontal disease, described as interproximal attachment level and probing depth. Also, caries and lower numbers of missing teeth was observed with people using interdental cleaning devices. If you cleaned more often between your teeth, that was correlated with a better periodontal health. And also, evidence from large cohort studies has demonstrated that high standards of oral hygiene will ensure the stability of periodontal tissue support. So this data support the use of interdental cleaning device as an oral hygiene behavior for promoting health. I think this is wonderful. It's actually promoting health, not only oral health. Interdental oral hygiene, the evidence. So just so we're on the same page, interproximal and interdental may be used interchangeably. They mean the same thing, refer to the area under and related to the contact point. And when we are recommending an interdental cleaning method, we should think about the contour and consistency of gingival tissues, size and form of interproximal embrasure, tooth position and alignment, and patient ability and motivation. And all of this can guide us in our home care recommendation. Looking a little bit closer on that last one, ability and motivation, we can see from this study that motivation to take care of your teeth at home and clean between the teeth at home, that's closely linked to the ability to use the product. And also in this study, they commented on that ease of use played an important role in people's willingness to continue using the interdental brush every day. So to know about this, motivation, ease of use, manual dexterity, of course, you have to practice with the patient at the clinic, of course. So interdental cleaning products, over-the-counter products is a big industry, and people are buying a lot of products, but are they really using them? Well, not always. So we need to support them by providing instruction and helping them find the inner motivation needed for sustainable self-care. And these are TePe's products for interdental cleaning. And now when I say IDB, I will mean interdental brushes when I say that. So let's start with dental tape, mini flosser, and bridge and implant floss. As oral health professionals, a lot of us probably need to change our mindset from flossing to interdental cleaning, which is a wider perspective. And compliance on flossing is really low. And as we can see, flossing is just not for everyone. The floss is rather difficult to use. You need 2 hands and a good technique. Many large systematic reviews have shown that the vast majority of patients, they will never master effective flossing. It's demanding, requires a high level of tactile and fine motor skills, and you also need some knowledge about anatomical conditions. So before recommending floss, make sure the patient has the skill and motivation needed, or help them reach that skill if that's the goal that you set up together with them. So should we toss the floss, or does floss have a future? Well, some of you might have heard about the so-called Flossgate. The United States Health Department removed daily flossing from its list of dental recommendations, which is a bit strange since America is all about floss and has been so since the 1800s. So what happened was the press wrote widely about floss being worthless, but in fact, it's not at all worthless. But it's all about the lacking of proper scientific studies regarding the effect of floss. So we know from studies that flossing might not be the most effective way to remove interdental plaque, but lack of studies does not imply that flossing is a waste of time. While waiting for other studies, if you're like me and a bit curious, you can perform your own little study at home. Most of us have interdental spaces that do require floss, and if you just stop flossing for a while, most likely you will experience the same thing I do. Well, it bleeds once you start again. So we just can conclude that we just need to clean those interdental spaces. Cochrane. This Cochrane review found no studies that proves flossing as an adjunct to toothbrushing prevented caries. Even so, in many countries, dental professionals ask parents, who most likely can't floss themselves, to floss their kids' teeth. So what we need to think about, though, is that flossing is just one factor in our fight on caries, and teaching parents how to brush properly and to support their children in brushing until they are at least 10 years old is more important than talking to them about floss. Also, using fluoride is very important, as well as the family having healthy eating habits, avoiding unnecessary sugar and sticking to no more than 3 meals and 2 snacks a day. So we have to keep in mind that caries is a multifactorial disease. Another Cochrane review, and most often they do say that evidence is weak because they have very, very high criteria. In this one, that is made up from 35 randomized controlled trials, they say that they found using floss in addition to toothbrushing may reduce gingivitis in the short and medium term. And this was from 2019. So who should use floss? Well, anyone with an embrasure space type 1 and a pointed papilla that fills the interdental space. If your patient has good dexterity and is motivated, well, regular floss and tape will most likely work. If your patient has bad manual dexterity and a little bit of low on the motivation, maybe you can suggest floss on a handle, such as the mini flosser. So of course, in some cases, floss is invaluable, like in these cases with implants and bridges. This floss might be a little tricky for the patients to use, but the ends here are stiff and the floss part is shorter than other variants of this. So the TePe bridge and implant floss really is easier to use than similar products. So continuing on, who should use floss? Well, if we ask Phil over here, using the dental brushes where they fit and floss where they don't. So pretty pragmatic statement. And yes, that's an easy thing to say. And if we ask Ian Needleman, he talks a little bit more about interdental plaque removal requires individualized planning, instruction, and support to be effective. The focus should be on the desired outcome, health, rather than the process, the kit or the technique you're using. So that is, I think, a really good statement. Give your patients an alternative in reaching the desired outcome. So the important thing is that we get all that plaque away, really. And a really good pedagogical tool to use is using a disclosing agent. So I will show you, I will show you a film now, and I really hope that it's working this time so that I can come back to you again. Oh, so happy that seems to work. Okay, so moving over to our rubber interdental pick, easy pick with a quote about motivation. So I think this is important for many people to remember, and not least us dental professionals. TePe easy pick, efficient, easy to use. We talk about it as an interdental door opener. So if you have a patient that hasn't tried cleaning in between teeth, this is a really good beginner's alternative. It's a great complement to IDB also, and excellent for on-the-go use. So it's a good way to get into a new habit. It comes in 3 sizes. And we think that a rubber pick is excellent for ortho patients or doing orthodontic treatment, because the gingiva might be a bit sore, and this silicone covered pick is really comfortable to use, and also the spaces will vary during treatment, and because it's conical, it will fit in different spaces. And what about research? Well, there are a couple of studies done on the rubber picks, and what we can conclude is that for periodontitis patients, there is no evidence, because there are no studies that say that they increase probing depth. So it is an alternative for healthy patients or gingivitis patients. And something also to remember is that most of these studies have been done on rather young adults with no periodontal disease then. So generally pretty healthy people in the studies. So who should you recommend EasyPick to? Well, anyone with embrasure space 1 to 3, so all patients pretty much, healthy patients and patients with gingivitis, then you can recommend it for daily cleaning. For periodontitis or peri-implantitis, it could be a complement or an on-the-go alternative because cleaning with interdental brushes is necessary. So I thought I'd just quickly mention water flossers. So this was my idea of a water flosser at first, something that I might have to revise. But I'm sure a lot of you out there know much more about water flossers than I do. But they were introduced in 1962. So they're not new, and popularity has gone up and down, and of course varies from country to country. And these are from some statements from some studies. So one study looked at a lot of different interdental cleaning products and found that interdental brushes and water jets ranked high when it came to reducing gingival bleeding. So that's pretty much what we see a lot about this product. We see more reduction of gingival bleeding and not so much reduction of plaque. Another study said results from different studies on oral irrigators are not entirely consistent. So key pathogens might be altered, there might be plaque reduction, but like in most cases, technique is very, very important, and also the product you're using itself. So the device should be pulsating. There should not be just a steady stream of water. And for supragingival use, the tip should be at a 90-degree angle to the long axis of the tooth. Also, it's important not just to move the water flosser around in the mouth, but to keep it for 3 seconds at one point. And in many cases, you should use 70 psi, pound per square inch pressure. So maybe we can say this could be a complement to mechanical cleaning, but I'd say that we still need some more unbiased studies on this type of product. So there are a lot of different aspects to take into account when you're helping patients to choose the right interdental cleaning product. So embrasures, age of the subject or the patient, susceptibility to disease, experience of disease, manual dexterity. We talked a little bit about that, how important ease of use is, and motivation we mentioned as well. So let's look a little bit more into the research. When searching PubMed for interdental cleaning, that will give you 286 hits. Well, leaves you a little bit low because the studies that we looked at before, they said we should focus on this really. Interdental cleaning is important. If we look at toothbrushing, that will give us about almost 10,000 hits. So anyhow, the studies here range from 1966 until today. So we have more than 50 years of research claiming that the interdental brush is the winner from a clinical perspective. So let's look at some of those studies. Starting in 1976. So back then, the interdental brushes were bigger and they were not available in many different sizes. So 2 sizes here for this study. This study originated in caries prevention. And that was because the restorations back then were rather large and also extended down into the pocket, which could lead to secondary caries, of course, if plaque was formed there in the pocket. and could also lead to periodontal problems. So what they found here, using extracted teeth, 31 of them were totally covered with plaque when the interdental brush was used on them before extraction, and 36 of the teeth were from patients who had used the interdental brush routinely for many years. So they found that the interdental brush had an excellent effect both on the interdental space of the embrasures, but also 2 to 2.5 millimeters below the gingival margin. But now we have to keep in mind that these were large brushes. Of course, a very small brush that has a small brush diameter will never reach 2 to 2.5 meters below the gingival margin. But the large ones did. This study looked at probing depth. So they saw that using interdental brushes was more efficient in removal of plaque and resulted in a larger reduction of probing depth than the use of dental floss. So we talked about the rubber picks before a little bit, and not that many studies, but this is one that is quite well done. And even though we put TePe products here in the picture, I do want to emphasize that the study is not performed using TePe products, but they had flossers or floss on a handle, interdental brushes, and rubber picks. It was a mixed population, 120 people in the study. They were supposed to have plaque and gingival scores exceeding a certain level. There was a baseline study, and then the patients were divided into one of the test products, so randomly assigned into one of these groups. They were supervised in how to use the products because, remember, we talked about some products being more difficult to use than others. So, of course, the researcher wanted to make sure that the people in the study could use the products correctly. So the products were used for 6 weeks, and after that, a new assessment was performed. So the result shows that there was a comparable gingivitis reduction for 3 of the products, whereas the best gingivitis reduction came from interdental brushes. So we need to remember all people are different, and it's good to have all of these products in our portfolio so that we can offer different products to different people. This is a consensus report from 2015 from the European Workshop in Periodontology, saying that pretty much what Phil Owen, we talked about that before, his pragmatic statement there, saying that if you have tight embrasures, healthy big papillas, use floss, and for all other interdental spaces, use an IDB. So this comes back. Then we have this meta-analysis consisting of 6 systematic reviews, concluding a small effect of floss, unclear effect regarding wooden dental sticks and oral irrigator, and a large effect of interdental brushes. And also what they found, which is very important, is that patients really, really liked the interdental brushes. This French study from 2016 is very straightforward and doesn't take much interpretation, so I like it. 46 adults divided into 2 groups. One group brushing only with a manual toothbrush, and the other group adding the interdental brush. And this is the bleeding scores that they started out with, so about 35%. They were evaluated at 1 week, 1 month, and 3 months using the bleeding on interdental brushing index. So not the regular bleeding on probing, which is used more common, but there is actually a study on this bleeding on interdental brushing index if you're very interested in that index. So the group using only a manual toothbrush, they had pretty much, more or less the same bleeding. Nothing happened there in 3 months, whereas the other group had really, really nice results. So the bleeding went down to about 10%. And when I worked at the periodontic specialist clinic, this was normally our goal for our patients, so that they would reach 10% or less in bleeding. So really, really good results. One of the later studies is this one. So some of the results here we already mentioned, that about oral irrigators, for example, but they also state, like many others, that the effectiveness of interdental brushes is well documented. But they also highlight the fact that there's not one single device that works best for everyone, and individual factors always need to be considered. And for those of you wondering about the risk of trauma, maybe, can interdental brushes cause trauma? Well, they looked at that in this article as well, saying here that existing studies, however, did not find any associated gingival damage or hard tissue damage after the use of interdental brushes. No attachment loss was found for patients using interdental brushes for over 10 years. I do want to say, though, that of course sizing of the interdental brush is most important. So it is important using the right size. So I thought we could now do a little poll here to see. Hopefully you can see this. And if you can't vote, that's usually because the screen is maximized. So if you minimize it, normally you could vote. So thanks for participating in this little poll. Just to see how many of you actually use interdental brushes as a part of your daily cleaning routine. The results are really, really similar to last night's result. I did this same webinar last night as well, and very similar. That's very interesting. So I will let you vote for a couple more seconds, and then I will close and I will share the results with you. Okay. So 84% of you, I think it was 85 yesterday, said that you use an interdental brush as a part of your daily cleaning routine. So probably the 16% of you, you just can't fit it. That's my guess. Thank you so much for participating. So what are the reasons the IDBs rank so high in studies, and why should you recommend them? Well, ease of use, of course, this is something you have to check with your patient as well, but you do only need one hand to use an interdental brush. So once you get the hang of it, it's usually pretty easy, but the first week or two might, of course, be difficult. It fills the gap and reaches into the concavities that are present on all teeth, more or less, and also cleans the axial surfaces better. So you can also see in this picture from Sonja Seltzer that the brush really is the only thing that will really clean the concavities on some of the teeth that actually look like this. So this is, as you can see, real teeth. So this is what it might look like. Cylindrical shape. We did talk. I haven't showed you a study, but there is a study to say that there might be an advantage in recommending a cylindrical shaped interdental brush compared to a conical one. So we discussed this a little bit yesterday as well. 9 sizes to fit each unique space. They come in different textures, different bristle textures, different handles. I get to that. And then it's a brush, and we brush the other 3 sides of the teeth. So might as well brush the interdental surfaces as well. So things to look for in interdental brushes. Well, as with a lot of products, nonetheless, for example, clothes, but I think you should always be aware of how the product you are buying or recommending is made and where it's made. So we are very, very proud that we are producing our products right here in Sweden, because that means we can have control of the whole manufacturing chain. And also, of course, we do export a lot to the whole world, of course, but primarily to Europe. So we are also very close to a lot of our export countries. So we can ensure also a good working environment, and we all know how important that is. So bristle coverage, look at that. How much of the wire is covered by bristles? As you can see here, we aim high for about 98%. And of course, this is important because the bristles should touch the teeth, not the wire. How close together are the bristles? What are the bristle distribution? Is the wire coated? What's the shape of the brush? So cylindrical or conical. What about ergonomics? Is the brush easy to hold? As you can see here, you can put the cap on the back of the brush, so to extend the handle. And then what is the range of brush sizes? And remember then that the brush sizes can be expressed in different ways. Sometimes it's the patients will remember the color most easily, but then there's the ISO size, the PhD, which means the passage hole diameter, the smallest hole that the brush will pass through. We have some brands stating the brush diameter, some doing the wire diameter. So please be aware of this when you are looking at different brushes. We have, like I said, 9 different sizes in our original series, and our 4 smallest ones have a flexible tip. So why do I say that? Well, because the tip is important for how you bend the brush. So we recommend that patients would use one brush for the front that is straight, but for the molars, you can bend the brush. And the 4 smallest ones you can bend by pressing that little tip, and the larger ones you bend by turning the wire into a C or the shape of a banana. And then you keep it like that, because of course we want the brushes to last for a long time, and that's also what the patients prefer, of course. So I was talking about different textures, bristles. This is our extra soft interdental brushes. It comes in 6 sizes, and also the angle with an extended handle. That's excellent use from the palatal or lingual side, and also for patients with going through orthodontic treatment. So some commonly asked questions. How do I know which size to use? Well, we recommend our variety pack or our mix pack. Then you can start with the smallest brush and work your way up, or as a patient you can do that. But for you at the clinic, we do recommend having this practice box. And what you do then is you buy the 25 pack of brushes that all have a cap on. So it's very, very hygienic. You can just use your tweezers to get the IDBs from this practice box. And you choose some brushes for your patient. Let's say 1 to 3, no more than 3, that's too much. And maybe then you are also using floss in a couple spaces. So floss and 1 to 2 sizes in brushes is enough for a patient. So you try the brushes, decide which ones are the best for that particular patient. And then, of course, really, really important is that the patient gets to try the brushes at the clinic, so that you can immediately help, correct, give tips, all of that. So when they come home and they have bought their brushes, that's going to last them through the first months of use, they can hear you and your words giving little tips, you know, and they know how to use them. So really, really important that you try these brushes with your patients at the clinic. We recommend using or cleaning in between teeth with any product actually once a day. And the brushes can definitely, they can be used more than once. It's quite impossible to say how many times they can be used because that varies depending on the size of the brush, also how they are used. Are they used 10 times in each gap or 3 times in each gap? And are they used very carefully or aggressively? So all of that. But I'd say at least for the smallest one, you can use it definitely also more than 1 time in the whole mouth. So probably 2 to 3 times. Maybe for some people it's even longer. And the larger brushes can be used longer. So you just have to look at the brush and apply your common sense to when it should be thrown out. Definitely without toothpaste, because toothpaste will alter the size and also it's abrasive, which will make the brush wear faster. And also, of course, is not needed here interdentally. The most important thing is, of course, that you motivate your patients into using interdental products. But in a perfect world, we would be using them before we brushed our teeth. But that's maybe the second step. So who can use interdental brushes? Well, embrasure space type 2 and 3. All adult patients can use these for daily cleaning. And patients with periodontal disease, peri-implant disease, most definitely should use the interdental brush. So I actually have one more film, and that brings up the sizing issue. So I think we'll do that now. Again, hoping this will work. Oh, yes, we're back. So relieved. So the interdental brush is really a product for all adults and not only older adults. I think we have to think about this a little bit more. So start prevention on time. If it fits, you can recommend it. So is the interdental brush the golden standard? Well, in theory, yes, but not for every patient and interdental space. So finishing off by quoting Wojciech, who is a Polish dentist, but he has done his specialist training in perio in Sweden, in Gothenburg. And he says that there are no pills for periodontitis. The interdental brush is your medicine. So really, really minding the gap there. So we have a reference list on our website of scientific articles related to interdental cleaning. This is possible to download it if you want to. And some of the studies that I've been mentioning today are on that list. Also, you should sign up for our Odont News, our science update that will come to your inbox 4 times a year with 2 summaries from scientific studies. So we do this to keep you updated in a simple way. You can read it on your smartphones or maybe on your way to work or from work. Not if you're driving, of course, but if you're maybe on the bus, it's perfect to read. So you'll be updated in just a couple of minutes. Okay, so I'm going to join you again here. And I want to say thank you so much, and very sorry about that mishap in the beginning. When the software freezes, well, there's not much you can do, unfortunately. Sorry about that. So I really want to say that you should sign up for our webinar or my colleague Michaela's webinar on implant maintenance on May 4th, 7 p.m. CET, and May 5th, 7 a.m. CET. So you'll find this on TePe.com or tepeshare.com in upcoming events. Also, we have a really exciting thing to share with you. We have a clinical symposium on April 26th. So you should be able to find it in social media, and it will in a couple of days, or next week actually, will be also available on our website. So I'm open for questions if you have any, or any comments maybe. Also, I want to let you know that a survey will pop up. I don't know if I want to see the survey after this mishap, but a survey will pop up in your window now when this webinar is closed, and also you will get the possibility to answer that survey tomorrow, because you will also get a link to it in your follow-up email. And everyone will get a certificate of attendance within 24 hours. Okay. So I'm just trying to flip through here to see, well, so if you want to ask a question, feel free to do so. If you don't want to ask it now, you could always email me. You see my email address there. Or look at our website for the answer. All right, so thank you so much for joining, and definitely hope you'll join another one of our webinars. So thank you very much, and have a good day or a good night's sleep. All right, bye.